ART बिल लागू हुआ और भारत सरकार ने अपने लिए एक नई गिफ्ट दी, that is ART Act and Surrogacy Act. This bill was much awaited and we all were expecting it to come at any time. So it appeared on the government notification on 25th of December, and from 1st of January the law became an act. Now the question is, why this ART and Surrogacy Act? Why it was required? Of course it was much awaited because there were no regulations as far as ART is concerned. There were only guidelines for ART law. There were mushrooming of ART centers. Every city is now having at least 25 to 30 ART centers, even small towns and small cities. Then I must say that in fact it was much awaited, and हुजूर आते आते बहुत देर कर दी, लेकिन देर आए पर दुरुस्त आए. Initially we thought it is a very complicated act, but now slowly we have realized it's not that complicated. It is quite user friendly. Government of India sought public opinion till 2nd of April 5 p.m. and then rules were formed and they were framed by notifications. I am very happy to have Advocate Hitesh Bhatt and Dr. Rahul Bani with us. They are legal consultants of Omega Hospital since last 5 years, and they are doing our every month they are doing our audit and guiding us for medical legal cases. So I would take this opportunity to appeal to all of you that you must have a legal consultation and from an expert, because it helps many times, especially in the period of crisis. The structure of ART bill and ART Act is very simple. There is a national board, then there is a state board. The national board forms the policies, the state board implements the policies. Then we have a national registry, which acts as a central database for details about the clinics. This data will be used by the national board to form the policies, and then state board will form appropriate authorities, one or more, for local day-to-day smooth functioning of this act. So this is how it is going to work. There is a registration portal which is there, where you have to register online, and after registration you have to pay fees at NMC. There are 3 levels of clinics which are mentioned in the Act. ART clinic level 1, where only IUI is to be done, where 50,000 rupees is the fees. ART clinic level 2 is where you can do IVF, where 2 lakhs is the fees. ART bank, where you are supposed to actually recruit the donors and process the semen sample, the fees is rupees 50,000. And all these 3 level clinics are for 5 years. And there is a surrogacy clinic, which is the fees are 2 lakhs and it is for 3 years. So that is how the system goes. The most important point is qualification of staff and how much staff is required. If you just look at an ART level 1, where everybody has to register under level 1 who is doing IUI in his or her premises, the qualification is you require only one gynecologist who is a postgraduate from a recognized university. So I think everybody whosoever is doing IUI has to get registered as a ART clinic level 1. Then there is level 2, where you require a gynecologist, recognized MCI, recognized postgraduate degree of gynecology. Then you require an embryologist. Then you require an anesthetist, a counselor. So these are the 4 consultants which you require as a must in the team, and you may have an additional director and you may have an additional andrologist for the complete formation of a team. And then there is a ART bank, where you require a RNP doctor, a doctor who is a registered medical practitioner. He can be also a MBBS with a minimum knowledge of doing semen processing. That is what is requirement. The most important, of course, is the gynecologist. Gynecologist has to be a MS or DNB or DGO or MD in gynecology. He can be a super specialist with MCH or DM degree from a recognized university. For level 2 clinics, not for level 1 but for level 2 clinics, it is very clear that you need to have a 3-year experience in ART. And now this 3-year experience is something which is extremely important, because unless you have worked under a senior ART consultant for a minimum period of 3 years and you have done 50 ovum pickups and not or and or 50 ovum pickup, you will not get the registration, and you have to maintain the logbook, because during inspection you might require to present that you have done ovum pickup for 50 cases. Embryologist is also extremely important, and in embryology you need to have a degree for life sciences. Before this law came into existence and it became an act, the requirement was only BSc in life sciences, but now onwards you have to have PG, that is MSc or in life sciences with 3 years experience, or PhD with 1 year experience, or you can also have a veterinary degree or MBBS degree. And you all must know that the IVF actually started with veterinary sciences. In veterinary, IVF was very popular since last so many years. They are doing IVF for getting a good breed, and this came into the human for humans, and now we are routinely doing ART for infertility. In veterinary sciences, they are not doing it for infertility, but they are doing it for getting a better deal. But the point is, even a veterinary doctor can also become a embryologist. Then a counselor. You need to have a counselor, and you require an anesthetist because you have to do ovum pickup. You may or may not have andrologist, but it is better to have andrologist and a director for the hospital. As far as infrastructure is concerned, and there are some points which are actually doubts which are there in my mind also, and we have Hitesh with us, and Hitesh, yesterday he was with me for audit, and I asked him that whatever doubts I have in mind, I'll ask you, because you are the best person to answer all the queries related to IVF and ART. So you require a gynecologist reception chamber and a USG machine. That is very clear. Whether you require an IUI room or not, there is a because you may do it in your chamber also. And what about semen collection room? And another point which is important is whether this level 1 clinic is supposed to do the semen processing also, or they can get the sample from a laboratory and do only IUI. That is a question which Hitesh I think will answer at the end of the talk. Second is of course level 2 clinic. In level 2 clinic you require a full-fledged IVF setup with all the facilities, like you require a reception, you require a counselor, you require chambers, you require ultrasound machine, you need a good embryology lab, you require a semen collection room, you require a cryocan, and you require a ovum pickup room. And you require many gadgets and instruments also for doing IVF. And here the important point is they have stated that you require 2 incubators, and that is what is important. So this is about infrastructure. Then in ART bank you don't require much for ART bank, because ART bank is where only the semen processing is done. Ovum pickup is not done by ART bank. They are only providing the donors, and the donor pickup will be done in the ART clinic, level 2 clinic. And that is the reason why you require only a reception, waiting, and an andrology room and a chamber, and maybe a centrifuge machine for ART bank. So these are the equipments which are required for ART level 1 clinic: microscope, centrifuge, and a refrigerator. For level 2 clinic, as I told you, so many instruments are required, but they have specifically mentioned that you should have 2 incubators, because incubator ये IVF lab का आत्मा है, IVF lab का दिल है, और इसलिए if the incubator fails, then you may have a problem. That is the reason why they have said that you should have at least 2 incubators. In our Omega hospital, we have 6 incubators, because you have to have incubators for proper storage of the embryos as well as the oocytes. So incubator is very important. In ART bank you require only centrifuge machine, incubator, microscope, and a laminar flow. Surrogacy clinic is something which is same as ART level 2 clinic, because you require everything in surrogacy. You cannot do surrogacy unless you have a registered surrogacy clinic with you. Now what about the procedures and duties of the bank? The procedures and duties of the bank, that they are very important. You have to get the information of the donors, and this information has to be kept confidential, because you cannot disclose the identity of a donor. The biggest issue is about the oocyte donors. Oocyte donor has to be altruistic, and the donor has to donate the eggs only once in lifetime. That is the biggest thing which has come up, because initially donor used to donate for every donor is to donate every 3 monthly, and that is something which is actually an exploitation of a donor. That's the reason why they have said that only once in lifetime they can donate the oocytes. And whether you can use frozen oocytes or not, this is one more question which Hitesh will answer. I think yes, you can use frozen oocytes also. Then you have to have insurance for the donor, and this is extremely important, maybe around 5 lakhs insurance, because you have to take care of the health of a donor during the process of IVF, and you have to take an undertaking which has to be notarized, stating that I will take care of the donor in case of any complications if arising out of the procedure. This is something which is important. Now the number of oocytes is one more issue which they have said that you should have ideally 7 oocytes during pickup. Now you cannot actually fix the number like this. It all depends on how many eggs you get after doing stimulation. But then what is important is number 7 they have calculated depending on the controlled ovarian hyperstimulation. It is said that whenever you are stimulating the ovaries, you should not stimulate it in such a way that you get 50 oocytes, because ultimately that is going to the patient is going to land up in ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, something which we don't want to do. That is the reason why they have said that you should have a soft protocol and you should give minimum stimulation to the patient so that you get around 7 oocytes. Extra oocytes if you get, you should freeze them for the same patient. Now on the 10th October there was a notification which says that for donor safety you have to notarize the undertaking that I am going to take care of the donor. Initially they said that you should get it done from the magistrate, but it was difficult to get it done from a magistrate, so they realized that this is not practically possible, so they have changed it. Now you can just make a affidavit on a stamp paper and get it notarized, so they have made it simple. The oocyte donor has to be between the age of 23 to 35 years. You have to examine the donor, do all the investigations, and then you have to do the OVA pickup in the ART clinic. Now all the investigations they have stated, they have not stated HB electrophoresis. And I think for a region like Nagpur where sickling is so common, and even for the matter everywhere you have to do HB electrophoresis as a must compulsory test, because that is something which is transmitted genetically. Now 7 अंडे का फंडा क्या था? As I said, 7 eggs. 7 eggs is something which everybody started discussing about this. कि 7 अंडे कैसे मिलेंगे और 7 दिन के 7 अंडे कहाँ से लाएंगे? So what is the idea behind this is you should have a soft protocol, and to prevent a hyperstimulation they have said 7 eggs. But if you get more number of oocytes, you cannot distribute these oocytes for the different patients. You have to reserve these oocytes for the same patient, the patient which is where you have allotted this donor. And that is the thing which is extremely important. For sperm donors, the age has to be between 21 to 55 years. The sperm donor is provided by a bank. The semen is cryopreserved by the bank, and then it is provided by the bank to the ART level 1 or level 2 clinic. How many times a donor can donate a sperm? That is one more question which Rahul and Hitesh maybe will answer at the end of this session. Initially I think it was 70 to 2 times, but I don't know now what is the situation. We all know the movie Vicky Donor, and these are the last shots of the movie Vicky Donor, where Vicky Donor asks his doctor, he goes for a get together where all the babies are born out of his semen sample, and he asks how many among them are mine, and the doctor says 53. So he says all of them are mine, 53. Yes, he says you did all this, and this is your wonder, the wonder of your sperm. The entire world is a sperm. So this is what is the concept that you can give. How many number of times you can give semen sample is something which is again a controversial. Now always you have to quarantine the semen sample, and quarantine का अब तो सबको क्वारंटाइन पता है जब से कोविड आया, लेकिन ये क्वारंटाइन सीमेन सैंपल में काफी सालों से चल रहा है. Unless you quarantine the sample, you should not release it, because you have to, there is a incubation period where latent phase where the HIV and other infections might crop up, and that is the reason why you must quarantine the sample and then release the sample. The storage of the gametes or embryos should be done for minimum of 10 years. And after that, if you need to store it for more than 10 years, you have to take the permission of the authorities. And you can donate these embryos or the oocytes or the sperms for the research after taking permission, but you cannot sell the embryos or oocytes. You can only transfer them after taking permission. For transfer within the India to different centers, you have to take the permission of a national board. Surrogacy is something which is again extremely important, because surrogacy is a very debatable topic. Again, you have the same structure where you have to get apply for the surrogacy at appropriate authority, but then you have to go to the board, and surrogate has to be examined by the civil surgeon, and then you have to take the fitness from the civil surgeon that this surrogate is fit enough for becoming a surrogate mother, and then you get the insurance of the surrogate mother along with the affidavit. Then you do the agreement along with the surrogate mother, and then you start the process. That is how you have to go. And here surrogacy clinic, once you get the registration for surrogacy, you can start doing surrogacy, but you have to follow some rules. MTP is something which is controversial. You cannot do MTP in surrogates unless it is authorized by appropriate authority, because sometimes there is a change of mind, and sometimes the couple may say, I don't wish to continue, you may have to do MTP, you have to take the permission, you have to take the consent of a surrogate as well. That is very important. You have to follow all the rules as per MTP Act. The surrogacy can be availed by only a married couple, where the age of a woman is 23 to 50 and a man between 25 to 55. A single woman, a widow, can actually go for surrogacy. That is what the experts have said, because there was a controversy, and especially with all the film stars going for surrogacy, it has become a topic of debate and discussion, and that's the reason why they have laid down some rules where they have said that you can have a kid if you are single woman, especially if you are a widow and you need to have a baby, you can go for surrogacy, but a single man cannot go for surrogacy. A single woman can go for surrogacy, and same-sex couple also are not allowed to go for surrogacy. You should have no surviving child if you wish to go for surrogacy, and if the child is mentally or physically handicapped or challenged, you should get a certificate from the medical board that you need to have another child. You cannot abandon a child born out of surrogacy, and the indications are very clear: agenesis of uterus, hypoplastic uterus, Asherman syndrome, hysterectomy done for cancer, or hysterectomy as an obstetric hysterectomy done if there is no live issue, recurrent implantation failures, recurrent pregnancy loss, bad obstetric history, and severe medical disorders where a mother cannot bear a child because of the medical disorder. The couple has to be from the Indian origin. Now this is something which came some 5 years back, and because there was this became a business, and people started doing surrogacy for the foreign nationals, and that became again a controversial point. That's the reason why government of India for the first time some 5 years back came with this rule or law that you cannot have a surrogacy outside India. Only Indian origin couples can go for surrogacy, and this is something which is only for protecting the surrogates from our Indian origins. Surrogate mother has to be a married woman with at least one child between 25 to 35 years of age. The surrogate mother cannot donate oocytes. Oocytes should be from a different donor if donor is required. Surrogate can do surrogacy only once in her lifetime and not more than 3 attempts. And the embryos to be transferred to surrogate should be ideally only 1. In some situations, you can transfer at the most 3 embryos. So these are the things which are strict guidelines which are laid by the government in the interest of surrogate mothers, so that surrogates are not exploited. Insurance you have to take for the period of 3 years, along with the affidavit stating that I will take care of surrogate mother in case of complications arising out of surrogacy during the procedure of surrogacy. PGT is something which is in thing nowadays, and we are doing PGT at our center routinely for many indications. Like if there is a genetic problem, we have a laser machine for PGT. Now the PGT is again controversial because PGT should not be done for sex selection or sex determination, and that is one more thing which you all should keep in mind. If there is a genetic disorder, then only you can do PGT, and if the age is above 38, then again Nitesh and Rahul can throw some light on this. We are getting many patients where the age is more than 35 or maybe 30, around 38, where they have to do PGT for aneuploidy because they want a healthy baby, and that is something which is I think indicated. If you want to do research Research has to be done only in India and should be done only at an identified and empaneled research institutes like ICMR, stem cell and biomedical ethics guidelines. So these are the guidelines which you have to follow. You cannot do research unless you have empanelment with ICMR or something which is authentic. Offences is something which is really a serious matter, and we have, in fact, I was invited by Rajya Sabha for my opinion on surrogacy bill and surrogacy act before the surrogacy act came into existence, and we actually tried to convince them that the penalties and offences should be there for the misconduct or misdeeds, but not for the clerical mistakes. The same thing happened with PCB also. So this law can be misused by the authorities if the law is having very harsh offense penalties and the punishments. And that is exactly what is happening now for ART and for surrogacy. The punishment is 5 to 10 years of imprisonment and 10 to 25 lakhs of fine. And the surrogacy here, the offence is cognizable, non-bailable and non-compoundable. Again, we have experts who will throw light on what is it, but this is something which is really dangerous. You cannot, take it lightly. That is for sure. Grievance cell. Every clinic should have a grievance cell, just like Vishaka committee, where actually you can put your complaints and then you can solve the problems at the level of center, and if required you may go into the court if required. So form 5 is there for grievances. ART Act and PCPNT Act, they go hand in hand, and I think it is our moral responsibility and duty to see to it that this is not misused for sex selection and sex determination. All provisions are in addition to and not in derogation of PCPNT Act and Clinical Establishment Act. So it comes along with the PCPNT Act. Search and seizures, appropriate authorities have this, they can perform search and seizure anytime without notice, prior notice. Only thing is they should take care of the gametes and the embryos which are stored. There should be no to the gametes and embryos stored in the center. Otherwise, they can do search anytime. Marketing, again, one more point which is again a controversial issue. We are having regular PCPNT meetings every 2 monthly, and here we always discuss this. That what about marketing of ART clinics or ART centers or surrogacy centers? It is very clear that you should not do marketing of, especially for surrogacy, and you have to see to it that marketing should not be done. Record keeping is extremely important. You have to keep these records maintained for 10 years for ART clinic and for 25 years for surrogacy clinic. And if you wish to close down your surrogacy clinic or ART clinic, then you have to transfer this to a national registry. You cannot just destroy the documents. You have to transfer it to the national registry. And what about digital data? I don't know whether you can keep it in the digital format or you have to keep it in the physical format. Again, Hitesh will throw light on this. You should have a quality control in your laboratory where you can get accreditation from ISAR and NABH. We at Omega have got both accreditation, and this is important because you learn to do the things methodically if you are accredited. Software is something which is extremely important. We all should have a software for maintenance of records. Then there are many forms and consents. I will just go through quickly through all these forms because they are just like PCPNT rules. There are many forms which you have to fill, and then you get the registration, and there are agreements and registration. Everything is there in the form of forms. So I would end my talk with this Tuka राम महाराजांचं वचन. तुका म्हणे उगी राहावे, जे जे होते ते पाहावे. और ये एक हेमंत कुमार का बहुत अच्छा गाना है. या दिल की सुनो दुनिया वालों, या मुझको अभी चुप रहने दो. मैं गम को खुशी कैसे कह दूं, जो कहते हैं उनको कहने दो. या दिल की दुनिया वालों. थैंक यू. तो ये गाँव तो है, लेकिन इसको मैं कोशिश नहीं कर सकता. कोई बात नहीं, हमको इसको एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ेगा. थैंक यू सो मच.
Very nice, very well presented. I think when one very important clear message, if you are doing a very extensive work, always keep legal consultants with you. because we are busy with our clinical work and they will keep guiding everything. Very well presented. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shruti.